This week, we give our first impressions of the 2021 BMW 4 Series. Next, on Talking Cars. Hey, welcome back. I'm Keith Barry.
I'm Ryan Pizlakowski.
I'm Gabe Shanhar.
And we're back talking cars, and onto the car that we drove this week, a car that's available now. We were lucky enough to rent from BMW a 2021 BMW M440i xDrive. It's a mouthful, but it's the new 4 Series. It's the Coupe version of the 3 Series. Ours was equipped with the 382 horsepower, 3-liter turbocharged 6-cylinder engine, the 8-speed automatic transmission, and all-wheel drive. The starting MSRP for the 4 Series is about $58,500. Ours had a ton of options, some of which really transformed the car, and it was just over $70,000, which sounds like a lot of money, but considering what it is, Gabe, what is this car?
So it's the second generation that the car, the 3 Series Coupe is called the 4 Series. And this time around, they distinguish it more. It's lower, it's wider than the 3 Series. It has this controversial grille that I, for one, happen to like it. I might be a minority opinion here, but I think it's kind of, it just has a statement. I'm a BMW and I'm proud of it. And it also gives bystanders an immediate recognition. Oh, it's a 4 Series. Now, I think this car is fantastic. And I am not a fan of coupes normally, because I think they're just so impractical, and there's always going to be a need for the rear seat or something. And it's just too inconvenient. But the 4 Series is... makes it more palatable. You know, they have a presenter for the seat belt as soon as you close the door. Every detail is so well thought out in that car, and the way the car drives just fantastic. I mean, it has such a wide repertoire. It can be a comfortable, refined cruiser, and it can be a perfect track tool.
Yeah. So I drove this thing on a road trip. I went about 250 miles back and forth to I had the car for the weekend. I figured might as well drive it. So I dropped something off on the doorstep of some elderly relatives who were quarantining, and it was there and back. It was just awesome. I mean, it drove, for me, it drove like a grand tourer. I put it in comfort mode, and cars have these modes, and sometimes it just sort of changes the shift points, or it just does a couple of small tweaks to the engine management software. This really changed the entire car when you put it in Sport Plus versus when you put it in comfort mode. I just cruised, and I could have driven to LA and back totally comfortably. But Ryan, you probably put 250 miles on it on the track, right? and you had a whole other side of this car you unleashed, right?
I wish the tires would have lasted that long. So yeah, when I drove it, when I got into it, the very first thing I did was take it on the track, just because of the timing and when I had a chance to do that. And my goodness, is this thing fun? You guys touched on the fact that it's very docile and comfortable on the street. This thing transforms into a wonderful track toy. I mean, you can set set it into sport. The sport modes, I turned off the stability control on the track just so I could really, explore its limits. It was just wonderful. Tons of power. The transmission in that car reads your brain. It knows exactly what to do, when to do it, and it does it perfectly. And then just dynamically, it's well balanced. This car slides without biting your head off. You can put it anywhere you want. Every corner just does what you are envisioning. It makes you feel like a race car driver. This thing reminded me of a bigger Supra, Toyota Supra, right? This thing has that kind of pointiness. Tons of grip. The steering is phenomenal. Just unbelievable. Then I pulled out of the track, put it back in the comfort mode, and I put about 250 miles on it on the street, and it was just unbelievable. It's so comfortable. It's quiet. It's there's a little bit of road noise from the summer tires, and it's it's a little bit, there's a little firm edge ride wise, but it's still totally comfortable. The seats are amazing. It truly does it all. And you talked about it being almost $70,000. Yeah, that's a lot of money, right? But you'd be hard pressed to find another car that does both things this well for that kind of money. I don't know if I can think of a car that does it.
Yeah, you'd have to buy 2 cars. 70,000 is a bargain.
Let me second that powertrain. I mean, if this isn't the best engine transmission combination on the planet, then it's pretty darn close to it. And just such a smooth and poignant and civilized and spirited kind of powertrain. It's just a delight. And also just living with this car. I mean, the infotainment system and the fit and finish, everything. It just completely eliminates the need to buy a coupe for 6-figure. I mean, even BMW's own 8 Series, I think, is just too frivolous. This car does it all.
You could get a Z4 and an 8 Series, and it would do what this car already does. I mean, I know you mentioned the powertrain, but also I think a lot of it is down to that the adaptive suspension, which is an option on this car, which is why I said it's worth maybe spending a little more money for that. And I found that really was part of the transformation, right, Ryan?
Yeah. It's not gimmicky. I mean, it's real. It's real. The car, it transforms the car. Sometimes you have these modes and they're not that they're gimmicky. They're just not that effective, right? I mean, you don't almost bother playing with them, but in a car like this car, it transforms it. I mean, it truly can be a little bit of a track toy and can truly be a cruiser, a Grand Tourer, like you said. I mean, I'm not like Gabe mentioned, I'm not a huge coupe fan anymore. Maybe I'm just getting older. I had a 1998 328 IS. It was a coupe, and I was 20 years old. I'm 34 now. Not that I'm old, but the practicality of having 4 doors makes a lot more sense to me. I think Gabe mentioned this at one time. It's kind of an emotional buy. You're looking for that sort of a symbol. And the car has that. I mean, that grille. It hasn't grown on me fully yet, but that grille is really a statement. It's just it's a hot car. It really is.
Yeah, and also, Gabe, they have done BMW did kind of tweak this car in ways that you can't get from getting the same engine and transmission in the 3 Series. In the M340, right?
Yeah, we've said it before. They really wanted to distinguish the 4 from the 3, and so it has more horsepower, and it comes with the car is the suspension is set up differently. I mean, it's I would say that it's just a very nice balance. It's not doesn't beat you up. It's never too stiff, but it's just tight, gives you that high-speed stability and that confident feeling. The one thing that I would probably criticize a bit is I could use more steering feel in that car.
Yeah, on comfort mode as well. It's sort of that was noticeable. That I would criticize, and this is sort of inherent to the coupe issue. The rear seat really is vestigial. It's not like a Toyota 86 where you can't have legs back there, but the headroom is kind of non-existent. I'm 5'10", and it was sort of like this the whole time that I tried sitting back there. And I'm sure Ryan, you probably wouldn't be able to fit.
I honestly didn't try.
Yeah, but I'd say that even the 2-door coupe aspects of the car are pretty well done. Compare that to a Mustang or a Dodge Challenger. You flip the passenger seat forward, and it power slides, gives you that path. The seatbelt is never in the way. It's very well thought out.
Yeah. So if you want to read the rest of our full impressions of it, including a lot more praise, you can head over to cr.org and read our first impressions. Unfortunately, that's about all we're going to say about this, because we're not buying one, right, Gabe?
No, we're not. Usually we don't buy these very specialized kind of cars. It's basically still a coupe version of the 3 Series. So if you read what we say about the 3 Series, read the first drive. That is quite comprehensive, thanks to what you wrote, Keith. So I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, we don't want to be party to any family disagreements where someone comes out with, but Consumer Reports says that it's a practical choice. It's like buying 2 cars for the price of one. So you can't put that on us. But on cars that we aren't buying to helping people buy cars, we're going to get to your questions in a minute. But first, I just want to take a brief moment to remind you that that Consumer Reports is a nonprofit. That means that all that we do, including this podcast, is possible through memberships and donations from folks like yourselves who are watching and listening. Any amount helps. So if you are able to contribute, especially at this time of year where people are making contributions and thinking about those donations, please visit cr.org/give talking cars. That's cr.org/give talking cars, and you'll find more information. And thanks to all of you who do contribute, because it helps us do things like go out and purchase our own vehicles rather than relying on manufacturers to give them to us, and go out and rent vehicles and pay manufacturers back for those tires, the tire tread that we used and left behind on our track. So for that and for all other important things that we do, thanks so much for your donations and gifts. So on to your questions, which you've sent to talkingcars@icloud.com. And please keep them coming. Keep video questions coming. We love those. Show us what your background looks like. Our first question is from Nicole from New York City, who says, I'm a city dweller and I've always wanted to own a car, but it was never practical or affordable for where I live. My parents are in New Jersey and my partner lives in Baltimore. So whenever I would visit them, I would rent a car. The only car I've ever owned was a 1987 Saab Turbo 3-door hatch. Boy, did I love that car. You can see why. However, during COVID, this is much less comfortable. I'm looking at the Audi Q3 or Volvo XC40, but not comfortable with taking a test drive beforehand. Am I insane not to test drive? And which car would you choose? Gabe, I'm just going to throw that to you since you're our sort of car buying expert here. Test drives during a time of COVID, I don't want to be in a car with anyone who isn't in my immediate household. What do you think, and what are we doing?
Absolutely, but Nicole, I'd hate to see you lay down $40,000 on a car that you haven't test driven. So I think, and plus the 2 options that you're presenting, the Q3 and XC40, are we do recommend the XC40, but I think you should try it out and see that double tap shifter to reverse or drive is kind of peculiar and might be a deal breaker for some. Now, when you go to the dealer, you want to make sure that you drive the car alone without anybody sharing the same breathing space with you. So you're going to have to talk the dealer into it, but you know, they may be accommodating enough to not lose the sale. So I think, I mean, personally now, I prefer the Audi Q3 as a drive. I mean, it in terms of road test, it scores higher than the Volvo, but the Volvo is recommended, the Audi isn't, because of its reliability.
Yeah. Gabe, I'm going to agree with you with that on the Q3. One of the last things I did before stuff got locked down, just when we were hearing of, rumblings of something strange happening in other parts of the world, I took a Q3 to New York City for a whole weekend, and I spent a lot of time with ours, and it was easy to park. I drove it all over. I drove it to the airports, drove it to Newark. It was I basically did exactly what it sounds like you're going to do with it, and it was awesome for it. It was a really great car. It was great in the city, and then it was great getting out of the city. But, don't take our word for it. Call the dealership. And if there's anything the dealer says or does that makes you uncomfortable in terms of a test drive and saying, well, we need to send someone to the car, walk away. Don't let your safety be at risk just because a dealer wants to be a little pushy about selling a car to you. I'm dealing with a dealership right now, and I called them ahead of time to ask, can we do these things entirely contactless? Can we be outside when I sign something? Can I hand you my license outdoors? And then will you let me drive the vehicle? And, bring your own sanitizing supplies, keep your mask on, open the windows when you're driving, when you're alone. Obviously, you'll have to take our word for cabin and wind noise if that's the case. but drive it, I'd say. Ryan, what's your pick?
Absolutely. I'm Q3 all day. That's a wonderful little car. Go drive it. And like Gabe said, and Keith, mentioned, it's not going to be easy in COVID, but, bring your own wipes and sanitizer and do whatever you have to do. But that's a lot of money to put down on something you don't know about and you've never driven. So I think that's the test drive is important. But for me, I would say the Q3. That's a great little car.
So be safe. Enjoy your shopping experience and stay distanced. So good luck. Our next question comes from Charles from LaSalle, Ontario, who says, both my cars have run-flat tires, which I believe are made to be stiffer than a regular tire. Considering this is a run-flat winter tire, less effective than a regular winter tire. I believe a regular winter tire is made of a softer compound to help in colder temperatures. Ryan, I'm just going to throw that one right to you. And run-flat winter tires, that's not a phrase I've heard before.
They do exist. There's not a lot of them, but they do exist. There's some manufacturers like BMW where you don't have a choice. They come with run-flat tires, and there's no room for spare. So to answer his question, the answer is no. The tires, he's correct. The tires are built structurally to be stiffer. The sidewalls are actually have some structure in them as opposed to a traditional tire to actually help them hold the wheel up off the road if it should lose air. The air, if you fill a tire, air is what's holding the tire up off the road, the rim up off the road. Otherwise, you'd ruin the tire and ruin the wheel. The tire is stiffer, but it's not the actual compound that's touching the road. So, and a winter tire has a soft, pliable compound that remains soft and pliable in really cold temperatures. And then it has a lot of little sipes, little slits in the tread to help bite ice and snow. The run-flat winter tire is going to have that same thing. That layer of rubber that's actually meeting the road is still the same type of rubber that's on a traditional winter tire. It's just the structure of the tire, the run-flat tire, that has the stiffness to it. It's the sidewall that's keeping it up. So don't be afraid of them. They're not going to be cheap probably because there's not a lot of them out there. It's just one of those things, but don't be afraid of them.
Good advice. Keeping it moving, our next question is from Peter from Albuquerque, who says, I like to keep up with automotive trends and different vehicles from other parts of the world. What frustrates me is that so many of the cars I like are not available in the US, such as the Toyota CHR Hybrid and the Kia Forte 5. Canada's had the Kia for almost 18 months and America hasn't seen it yet. Is there any way for me to order these vehicles from a domestic side and have one brought over? Well, Peter, you and me both. There are a lot of vehicles out there that I wish that I could purchase, but I cannot. And that is because of a rule, actually a series of rules and regulations about importing vehicles. Basically, in the 1980s, people were able to sort of make gray market imports. There were companies that would, convert the speedometer, change a couple of things, and get cars from the rest of the world to the United States. The problem is that meant bad news for the dealers of those vehicles in the U.S. And a bunch of automakers, and most notably Mercedes, lobbied for some changes to be made. And what resulted was something that's commonly referred to as the 25-year rule, that you can import anything as long as it's 25 years old. Other than that, you would have to go through such an expensive process of everything from crash testing to conversion that it would cost you many, many millions of dollars to bring over one of those vehicles. And not to mention, that's not just the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. There's also EPA rules. There are some cars that are available in Canada that can be imported to the United States. And there's a list actually on the Department of Transportation's website. Even those require some costly changes, including switching over the speedometer, changing the lights, changing some things involving child safety. They're just, rules aren't harmonized internationally. So Canada and the US, even though the same cars are sold here and there for most of the time, they can't just be brought over. So look into that, especially those vehicles that are only sold in Canada. And believe me, I was interested in a fun little Nissan Micra to drive around, and they sell it there. They don't sell it here. Gabe, why is it that sometimes there are cars that are sold in Canada, but not the US? I mean, they're basically very similar markets.
Yeah, there are different customer preferences in different markets and different profit margins and different volumes. So manufacturers have different considerations. Canada tends to be somewhere between the US and Europe. So they're more accepting of hatchbacks, for instance, and not so strictly a sedan market as the US and some other markets are. So yeah, I mean, in general, you see it's a matter of geography, and you see that manufacturers will equip the same version of a car with a CVT, for instance, a continuous variable automatic transmission in some markets, and a regular transmission in other markets, depending on customers' expectations and preferences.
And one last question from Tom from Dunbarton, New Hampshire. Does Gabe ever open his college textbooks? We need a clear picture so we can see each one. And what is the story of the one used book? Gabe, what's your backgrounds? We get to see in people's houses now. What's your background there?
What do you know? I mean, these engineering books are the most fascinating, tantalizing books you've ever seen, particularly stress analysis and heat transfer. Yeah, but every now and then when I get nostalgic about cars I owned in the past, I leaf through the GTI book or the Triumph motorcycle book. I bet you never knew that I had a Triumph motorcycle.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Oh, I didn't know that. We've gotten a lot of questions. Now, I don't want to just pick on you, Gabe, but I've gotten a lot of questions about two things in my background. The first is the computer over one of my shoulders, and my image is mirrored, so I don't know if it's my left or my right. Anyhow, the computer over my shoulder, and that's an Apple IIc. We had some guesses as Commodore 64, 2E. No, that's a 2C, and that's the one with a little handle on it. It was actually one of the first computers you can get an LCD screen for, but my family didn't spring for that back in the 80s. But my mother had a whole teaching career that was based on that computer. And then on the other shoulder, the machine learning, machine feeling poster is from an exhibit called Archaeology of Another Possible Future by an artist by the name of Liz Glynn. And she exhibited that at Mass MoCA, which is a tremendous museum in North Adams, Massachusetts. So look that up. There's a bunch of information about it online, and there's a lot of interesting interpretations of factories and how things are made. Ryan, your room looks suspiciously like a conference room that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so I had some internet issues at home this morning, unfortunately. So I snuck up here to work, and I'm hiding in one of the conference rooms. So it's it's a little bit duller than that closet that I normally report from, but.
What Ryan's not telling you is that he misses being in the office so much that he's actually made a full-scale replica in his living room. So the green paint and everything, it's all color matched. He worked with facilities. He put in the drop ceiling.
The drop ceiling was a real pain.
Yeah, we're really trying to get help for him. But anyhow, if you have questions for us, send them to talkingcars@icloud.com. And to read more about that 4 Series or anything else we've talked about today, including safe car buying during COVID, head over to cr.org. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk cars again next week.